Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's get started here. I think the recording has started. So what we're going to do is go through some slides. We want to talk to coaches tonight and share some information about the session coming up. I'm sure you're going to have some questions. When you do, please use the function question and answer. It's just a Q&A button that you should see on your screen and put your question in there. We're going to monitor and answer as we go, and also answer the questions live at the end to make sure that all the questions were answered. So yeah, you can go back to that slide there, Calvin. The purpose of this call, like I said earlier, is to just share some information with coaches ahead of this new season. We wanted to do this live so that you could ask questions and we could have some discussions. It's all about building a stronger, connections in our coaching community. So yeah, and we're going to be also sharing some exciting opportunities, which I will actually start with right after we go over the agenda. So for tonight's agenda, I'm going to introduce you to the few people from OVA that are here to help with this presentation. We're going to talk about some coach opportunities, go over some rules and protocols that are new this season, talk briefly about the Good Vibes campaign. We'll have an update from our referees, and a couple of last quick topics at the end. So tonight with me, I have a couple of colleagues that are here to present. So we have Calvin Cheng, who's right there, Shunya, Yamada, who's there as well on the operations side, and from our youth competition team, we have Mark Wiersma. And that's us from the OVA, and we also have Martin, who's going to be here from our referee committee to talk to you a little bit about what referees are doing to make sure that everybody has a great season this year. So let's get going with a couple of opportunities I'm not sure if you're aware of, but we wanted to repeat them, make sure that everybody knows that there are a couple of programs that are new from the middle of last season that were reconducted this season that are in place to help coaches develop. And these are the Coach Support and Networking Program, which actually is a way to connect people, connect more experienced coaches with coaches who want to learn in a specific topic. So we'll share the link in a minute in the chat. But the idea of this program is that you go on our website, you can find a list of people that are interested in sharing with other coaches. You find someone that has an expertise that you're interested in, you can connect with them, set up your own little arrangement for coach support with your coach advisor. And at the end of it, you as a coach can get a subsidy of up to $200 to cover any costs that you might incur by working with this coach advisor. Okay, so there's up to $200 that's available to you if you want to connect with someone and work in that kind of way. The other thing that's available, and I encourage you to talk to your club leaders about this, is the Coach Development Subsidy Program, which actually is in place to help clubs with putting together coach development activities. So if your club is putting a coach development clinic, a workshop on the weekend or during a weekday evening or something like that, the club is able to apply for a subsidy of up to $1,000 to cover costs associated with that. So that could be paying for a coach presenter to come over and present on the topic, an expert in mental performance and so on. Lots of flexibility there. So check them out. We'll put the links in the chat in a minute. And yeah, so just wanted to let you know that these are out there and they are there for you, and they are funded by the regional council, which so the regions essentially are funding that for everybody around the province. So great thing, and please check them out because those are there for you. So that's that for me. I'm actually going to pass it on now to Calvin to take us to the next few slides.
Yeah, so for our next slide, our OVA tournaments start, I believe it is next weekend. So we just wanted to add this little piece for our coaches. Our referees have a pre-tournament meeting every tournament 45 minutes before the start time. We're going to invite all coaches to attend that meeting as well. It is not mandatory. So please feel free to hop in if you're available. This would be a good chance for you to clarify any facility specific rules, age group rules, fair play, how things are being interpreted, step in, ceiling rules for your tournament for that day. Now I'm going to pass it over to Mark. He's going to talk about the new rules and protocols for this year. We have a big one, roster verification that will be covered, as well as some of the other stuff that's been covered in the What's New already.
Thanks, Kelvin, and thanks everyone for joining us tonight. As Kelvin mentioned, it's definitely the roster verification is the big one we're going to hammer home at the end, but we thought this would be a good chance to go through a few little tweaks to the rules in these first few slides. So we won't spend too much time on that, but great chance to just, a quick reminder of some of these tweaks that we've had. So first up for warm-up, one small tweak for convention centers as we are starting to have more and more of these events throughout the regular season and for the Ontario Championships. We are implementing for the warm-up aspect of this for when you're doing your pepper to do from the net to the end line instead of sideline to sideline. This is just to help with preventing balls from shanking and affecting play on the nearby courts. As you know, these can be kind of close to each other. And this is also something to keep in mind for the regular season if you're at a venue where, the courts are pretty close, and this would be beneficial because, all regular season venues can be, fairly wide range of what we're looking at in terms of the setup. And one other side note about the warm-up, the 844 and the 244, we are implementing this for all events. So in previous years, we used to have Ontario Championships always be a 5-5 warm-up, slightly different. The original thought was it would help kind of speed things up, but we're going to be consistent this year and have everything as 844 and 244, no matter what event you are in. And there, I should add a caveat to that. There might be one or two small exceptions around the 18U kind of final Division 1 tournament where we had the 3 out of 5s, a little bit more time associated around that. But we would identify that on the schedule for those few one-off events for that. Lining and scoring, always a hotly debated topic. So we won't go into too much detail around the pros and cons because we could have a whole call on that. But for the sake of this meeting, we just want to inform everyone that there's a small tweak around the TLS age group, and we will be moving that back to what the 4v4 and 6v6 age group did last year. So all ECI, which is known as our early contact initiative age groups, will be doing the same thing in terms of lining and scoring, which is in some ways the traditional concept where a parent or team volunteer would look after lining and scoring. So each team would provide one of each. And then this year, it'll just be the 15U to 18U age groups where one athlete of the team will be looking after the lining, and then one team parent or team volunteer will be looking after the scorekeeping. And we also clarified a clarification around teams that have less than 9 athletes, so 8 or fewer. So if we actually just took this exactly from Volleyball Canada's rulebook just to make sure we're all on the same page on this front. But if a team has 9 or more athletes on the roster and they choose not to comply with the lining and judging requirements, they will receive a 3-point penalty per set that they do not comply, in addition to the $75 set fine that we've had in the manual for the last number of years. And hopefully we won't have to deal with this, but we just want to put that rule in there just for clarification. And if a team does have 8 or fewer and they're not able to do it, sometimes you can, depending on your libero scenario. But if the team's not able to do it, then the other team the ref would see if they could support one extra person, but if not, then the match would go to a no lining system on that front.
Mark, we just have a question from Calvin. So for warm-ups, can we serve and pass one ball at a time at the same time to each side?
And serving them like during the serving aspect of the warm-up or the hitting aspect? Sorry.
It just says for warm-up, can we serve and pass one ball at a time at the same time to each side? Serving aspect.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So
Thank you,
serving, yeah, you can be serving from both sides of the net. And we did add a clarification this year that a player can be in the court receiving serves. So typically you have your libero from your team receiving serves. And so technically, yeah, you could have both, like your team serving warm up from both sides and then also having one athlete in the middle of the court. And we also look at that as a potential bit of a shield too for the athlete serving, because the person on the court receiving serves is also helping prevent the balls from potentially going underneath the feet of athletes serving on the other side. Side switching. So last year we tested out a pilot for, it was just the convention center events and the Ontario championships at convention center events around no side switching. And it went really well. And we're going to continue that this year, except we are now implementing this policy for all regular season tournaments. Now, the key thing to note here is, yes, if there is an advantage on one side, we'll for sure go back to the classic side switching for that match. And how it works is at the beginning of each day, the head official will, assess the venue. And this will also be what Kelvin mentioned, that meeting that happens 45 minutes prior. This will be a perfect chance to make that kind of assessment and then to notify the coaches like, hey, court number 3, this is going to be a side switching court, but court number 1 is a great feature court. No side switching is required on that end. And just to give you a quick kind of background of this rule, there's 2 main reasons. One, as I'm sure a lot of you noticed, the amount of parents from switching side to side, and especially at convention center events with chairs and dragging chairs with them, setting up cameras, all that stuff. And then also athletes needing to go back to their original bench, grabbing water bottles, forgot a towel, forgot an ice pack, all that kind of stuff. So we figured if there's no advantage on one side over the other, might as well speed things up a little bit and then help also with the spectators being able to sit in the same spot for the entire match. Coaches and team staff attire. So across the board, we're trying to, in really summary, just ease up a little bit on what has traditionally been, it could be I guess a strict rule or seen as a strict rule. Whereas at the end of the day, we're youth volleyball and let's have fun. Let's it's not all about wearing a suit and tie to every single match and having very strict protocols. And obviously you want to keep things within reason, and we don't want all coaches running towards the court and back and forth. So we were looking at adjusting a few things to help ease things up, but still keep things in a semi-professional manner too. So one of those, I guess the key things we adjusted in our rules is that now we're saying hats are permitted. And especially with the theme days, I'm sure you've noticed we had quite the impressive and awesome costumes and outfits and different things to support the theme days. And many of them also involved hats. And we thought there's really no reason to prevent that from happening. And we also, our wording is a little bit different too. So for example, here we say secure shoes, including both covered toe and heel straps, are encouraged, which in a sense means it's not mandatory, but we're still encouraging that obviously. But that also allows room for different scenarios that may come up. And it's just, we recommend it, but not mandatory. And just to note about the hats too, and just the general concept around the attire, we also recommend this for all those that are acting in the line judge role, which for the younger age groups, as we just talked about, is apparent. So in the past, we used to require them to take their hat off, but realizing that doesn't really impact the game and is not completely necessary. So I guess in short, we're just looking to loosen up that a little bit. Next up, in terms of rules, there wasn't too many big tweaks this year, but one that did come down, and it was a little bit of a late note. So we want to really stress that here, as it wasn't known that this was happening when our youth competition manual was posted at the end of August. So we did just post a what's new, I guess 2.0, back in mid-September where we added this in there, but this is also to align with Volleyball Canada's announcement with this rule for TLS, in that they can now receive a serve with their hands. So this will be in line with Volleyball Canada and also what will happen at the 14U Nationals. Perfect. Now roster verification, which is the big one that we saved here for the last, is we want to really kind of emphasize the different points around this new process. It does seem like a lot of work, but it's really not too bad, especially once you get the hang of it. So this year, well, I should make one step back here. So in the past, the indoor team contact on a team in MRS used to be the only person that could really access the team roster, make adjustments, which a number of coaches kind of stressed to us that it wasn't that user-friendly on their end. So a lot of them would be the ones that would want to see the roster and see who's missing and make an update for a tournament here or there. So this year, all head coaches, like if you have a head coach role in MRS, you will be able to open your roster in MRS, add players, take away players, print your roster, essentially manage your roster. So that process will help make this new verification at each regular season tournament a little bit easier for the head coach. So in its simplest form, the head coach is responsible for providing a copy of their MRS roster for every single regular season match. So that means, yeah, even if it's your fourth match of the day, you'll still present your sheet at the beginning of the match to the ref/scorekeeper, and they will, the ref will verify that everyone on your score sheet, whether it be the sticker or the handwritten names, is also on that roster. And so that, yeah, I guess that's in essence the main aspect of this. Now we realize this is a pretty big change to have. Just, I guess probably about 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we announced it, with the regular season coming up pretty quickly, especially since we've never done this before and coaches aren't used to doing this exact process. So for the first tournament, we will have a soft launch for this, but very important to note, this soft launch is only for the athletes. It is still absolutely mandatory for the coaching staff on the roster to be on that MRS printed, because that's also more like liability aspect, police checks, all the verification and the steps that the coaches are required to go through. But when looking at just the athlete side of things first, if an athlete is not on the MRS printed roster, we still will allow them to participate in this provincial cup, but obviously they'll need to get them added to the roster for the next event, whether it be the Challenge Cup or McGregor Cup. But back to the coaching side now, there'll be no exceptions for if a coach is not on that printed roster, but hopefully the head coach would realize this when they go to print that roster prior to the tournament. And we recommend they look at this or do this step at least a week out to that first tournament, because the coaching, if a coach is missing, there is a few days that, it can take a few days to complete the steps, especially if the coach hasn't completed the requirements yet. But even once the coach has completed all their steps, it still needs to be approved by an OVA staff, which can take 1 to 2 business days. So that essentially means you can't add a coach on the Friday night before your Saturday tournament or the Saturday morning kind of thing. So that's why we really recommend head coaches going in about, a week out and then making the adjustments. So that roster should, one step back. We do recommend that everyone kind of max out that roster, or if you think you'll have athletes that might be coming on, might be coming off, or might be a sub, they might be on your underage team or the team below you, and you might pull them up fairly frequently, you can utilize your 15 roster spots in MRS and to make sure they're on for that next tournament. And when the official is checking the roster, there can be extra players on your MRS roster, which is totally fine, but it can't be the other way around. So I really want to stress the importance of making sure that anyone that is going to be on the bench at that tournament is on that printed MRS roster. So looking at if you're missing a person, these are kind of the steps that you can go through. Let's say if this has been notified about a week in advance when you catch this error. So if it's a coach missing, you can try and find the coach in MRS, search up their name, and if they have been approved and if they have all their qualifications, then no problem. You can add them right to your team and they're on the roster. But if they're not showing up in MRS, that means they have either not even registered yet as an individual in MRS, or they haven't been approved by OVA staff, which takes about 1 to 2 business days. So if they haven't started that process, reach out to your coach and ask them to complete that right away. And then always keep in mind that it's safe to assume about 2 business days in terms of that approval process, because there's a lot of coaches in the system and OVA staff are going through them and approving them as they come up. In terms of an athlete missing, for provincial cups, as I mentioned before, this is the soft launch, so there's a little bit more flexibility there. But if similar idea to the coach, you can search up the athlete in MRS, assuming they've already registered, then you can just add them to your team. And if they haven't registered, then that's a fairly quick process, as you're probably well aware. Their parents register them, sign up for a full athlete ID, and then they can be added to the team. So in terms of at a tournament, if an athlete is missing, and let's say it's the Challenge Cup where they must be on the roster, even if the athlete isn't in an MRS, it shouldn't take too long for them to sign up in MRS. Worst case, they might miss that 1 match, but since that process is fairly quick, you should be able to get them on for that second match. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but it is electronic copy or printed copy. So in the case of this, where let's say you are adding a last minute athlete, all you'd have to do is show the electronic version of that roster to the ref for that next match, showing them on there. So then they can make that. One other, I think I forgot to mention the importance of having a head coach or assistant coach role assigned to all coaches. That was another adjustment that we made this year. Is in the past, we used to allow trainers or medical staff to be on the bench for tournaments, but there became a bit of a loophole that unfortunately became taken advantage of a lot more than we hoped, where technically you didn't have to have any coaching requirements and just say you're a medical staff or a team trainer, and then you could still partake and be on the bench for all this. So to simplify things, the only adults that can be on a bench are either a head coach role or an assistant coach role. And then, so that makes it pretty simple for when you're showing your roster, because any coach would be a head coach or assistant role in order to be allowed on the score sheet. And here, and that's just what I talked about on that front there. So is there any questions on that, Shunya or Colin? Because it's a fairly new concept, and it'll be a bit of a learning curve for the provincial cups as all teams are preparing this for the first time. But I just want to really stress the importance of making sure the head coach is aware that this is their responsibility for their team, and to make sure that you're checking at least a week out in advance, making sure that your team on that MRS roster is fully represented for what you expect to be at that tournament.
There is a couple questions, but LP is answering them in the chat as we go along.
Okay. Oh, perfect. I can't see the chat come up here too much on the side, but sounds good. And this is also, sorry, just before we go to that, I should mention that all these rules are also in our youth competitions manual. So if you're ever looking for a good read on a Sunday evening, just pull up to the OVA website, download the youth comp manual. I'm a little biased myself. I think it's just a fantastic 90-page read, but it does have all this broken out in much more detail. And so that'll be your go-to for any further clarification on that as well.
Mark, just want to point something out. There was a question that I did answer in the chat about the timing of printing the roster. And, it's important to understand that if your roster changes, you absolutely need to go and update that roster before your tournament. If you're just hoping that your last printout of the roster from your last event is going to work out after you've made changes, it's not, you're gonna face issues. So make sure you go and check every time. Like if as a coach myself, like as a coach myself, what I do is try to put as many players, like Mark said, as many players as possible that I think might be part of my of this one roster. If there were players from a younger team that I anticipate would potentially come and play up, I would just add them to that roster, make sure they're there, and then when we go to the tournament, if they're not there, then they just don't make it onto the lineup sheet, right? But at least they're on the list of eligible players that I can actually put on the score sheet when I get to the game. So just wanted to clarify and emphasize that because I know this is new for everybody.
I just saw. Oh,
yeah, we have some hands.
Yeah, I just saw two questions that I can answer that came up in the chat. One being, what was the kind of push for this new process? And the main reason is it was just unfortunately the amount of people that were coaches and athletes that were going throughout the entire year and actually never registering in MRS and showing up at the Ontario Championships and being like, oh, I needed to be certified. I needed to do this. I need a police check. And because before we never really had, there's just so many teams were not on site to check this. There's just no way. And unfortunately, each Ontario Championships over the last number of years has been getting worse and worse and worse. And last year it was quite substantial, the amount of coaches and athletes that showed up and did not even realize they needed to be in there. So that's the main reason why we are doing this, is to make sure that we can capture this earlier and get everyone in MRS at the start of the season when they should be. And I saw one more question pop up around trainer and how would we allow our trainer to be on the bench. So all they would have to do is register as an assistant coach role. And that also means they would be required to complete the training and the requirements that an assistant coach does have to do. But having said that, a trainer, you're not required to do that. You could be like a lot of regular season tournaments, like the spectator benches or like spectators are very close to the bench anyways. So all that means is a trainer, if they are not classified as an assistant coach in MRS, all that means is they just can't be on the actual team bench, but they can be in the crowd, which is very close by anyway. So it's up to each team which route you'd like to go on that front.
So Mark, I think there's a few hands up and questions that we should probably take now if they're related to this, because we know this is a big topic. Mm-hmm. So let's have Gita or Vlad there. You're first.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for going over this. It's really helpful. We have a few questions. We thought it'd be easier to just ask. One is, we're looking in MRS. We coach two different teams. One team, we can click in, see it. We only see coaches, not players. I tried to edit the roster. Even then, I can't pick a coaching role. I can only pick a player role. So that's just one question. Is that an MRS thing, or we need to talk to our club about connecting our roster to our team? That's one question.
They should be popping up. I'm wondering if there's some glitch on that front, because they should, if the athlete's in MRS and they're of age for that team, then they should be an option that you can just click and add them. Is there, Calvin or Shunya, have you had that issue before?
Like, we're just trying it as you speak, just to see what it looks like.
Do you know if they're a tryout player or if they've been?
They're all registered. Like
fully registered, like a competitive player?
Yeah.
Could you send, this might be a deeper dive that might be needed. Unfortunately, I'm not an MRS expert. We rely on Melanie and Jen Harkness, who just knows everything about MRS. So if you don't mind, could you shoot me an email on that, and I can get Melanie and Jen involved just to see if there's some sort of issue on the back end on that.
For sure, definitely, because we're not sure. Do we follow up with the club or with you guys? But the second one is the second team that we coach is a 4-on-4 team, and when we click on it, nothing opens. So that seems like an MRS thing.
And are you like a head coach role on that team itself?
Yeah.
Can you add that to the email as well?
Yeah. So we can follow up on those things. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then the last thing is, we have some players in our club, like registered, that help coach the younger ages at times. is there a certain age where they have to go through all the OVA training for the coaching, or regardless, they have to go through all of it to sit on the bench?
Calvin,
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah, so they have to be at least 14 years old in order to start their coaching modules. That's just the policy of the CAC and the locker. And if they want to sit on the bench as an assistant coach, then they would have to go through those modules.
Okay. Yeah, they're older, like 16 and 18, but to sit
Yep.
on the bench, they still have to do that even though they're registered in MRS as players.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then anyone like the 18-year-old would have to have a police check as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
LP, do you know who is up next with the question? I see a
I think
couple
it's
hands here.
whoever's number 2.
I think Lisa's next. Lisa Scott.
Yeah, hi. Thanks. I'm just wondering what the referees are verifying the registered lists against. So do we have to keep multiple copies of the roster on us during a tournament, or do we just bring one copy of the printed roster?
Yep, you can just bring one copy, whether it's like a printed PDF copy or electronically on your phone. And then they're just comparing that to your roster sticker that you put on the score sheet, or if you're handwriting your roster on the score sheet. Essentially, they're just comparing, that printed out version that you're bringing to what is being presented on the score sheet, just making sure everyone's on the MRS roster that's also on the score sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Tracy?
Yes, I wanted to know, is there a limit on support staff on the roster? I have quite a few young coaches who are still in post-secondary, and there are times when some of them are available, like they finish their qualification, but some of the assistant coaches are available and some are not. So is there a limit to how many you can have on the roster or at a tournament?
So there's 2 different numbers. One, there's the limit of number of coaches on the actual bench at a tournament. So 1 head coach, and I believe it's 4 assistant coaches. And then in terms of MRS, you can put a lot more in your MRS roster profile. I don't have that number offhand. Do you happen to have that, Kelvin, on you right now?
No, not for the MRS number.
Yeah, it's definitely different. So we do allow you to essentially what you're saying, how you could have a lot more, and then some might not be there, some might be. So then that allows you to kind of stockpile a bit on your MRS roster. I'm just pulling up the manual. I'll get back to you with that second part once I pull up our.
That's okay. So it's
here.
1 head coach and 4 assistants?
Yeah, so a total of 5 for the
perfect.
actual tournament on the bench.
Thank you.
Richard Koopmans?
Sorry, fumbling with the unmute. Yeah, I had the question earlier about the roster, etc., and just I think I got my answer there. But if my roster never changes in the beginning of the year and I print it out, I never have to print it again. I can come with the original one, is what I was hearing, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And I had gone off of mute when I figured I had that. The MRS question that somebody had at the beginning, I did go through some of that myself, and I'll just share with you. If the players don't register properly, they don't show up in there. Like, we can't add a player in MRS. It's the way the system is. So we had to chase a player down repeatedly. He kept making mistakes trying to register himself, and had to sit side by side and get it done. For a whole team to be missing, I'd have to wonder if it was how the team was entered and how they were selecting the team. But good luck with that. And yeah, there's no way you can correct it on your own for the whole team.
Thanks for that. And that actually just reminded me too, we have seen before when a team created themselves, just they misidentified which age group they were in. So they thought, let's say they were a 15U team, but they actually registered as a 13U team. So then that was why all those athletes weren't showing up. No idea if that would be this case, but never know. Jennifer's up next.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Just a question. I coach the TLF, so like the 14Us, and there's the fair play rule and whatnot. And that does MRS affect that in any way? Like if they're on the MRS roster, does that mean that they have to be playing in the game, or is it just whatever lineup I give to the scorekeepers? Like I just want to clarify that so that I'm not sanctioned for any non-fair play kind of question.
For sure. A great question. And to answer that, the roster on the score sheet, that's the official game roster. You can almost look at it as, yeah, the printout version is just to verify your actual game roster. So yeah, feel free to add, like as LP was saying, max it out with the 15 players. Even if 4 of them aren't there, that's totally fine. So you can go off of your official game roster for the fair play.
Mark, discretion. I just want to make a clarification. I would like to be. You should be very careful with this one, because the way that this process is put together, yes, you can have players on your MRS roster that you don't put on the lineup, but it is not meant for you. Let's say you have 12 players on your TLS team and you show up and you only want to put 8 on your roster that day and you keep 4 in the stands. That's not allowed. So it's not meant for you to be able to just put the players you need on the score sheet for your fair play event and tournament. It's meant for you to only put those that are at the tournament on the score sheet. But if you leave players off the score sheet and have them in the stand, and then, of course, if there's an injury, this is completely acceptable. But if you are kind of playing around with fair play where you're not including players, this is sanctionable and not allowed. Just want to clarify that.
Thanks, LP. Great point. And while you're answering, I just pulled up the team organization that you can have in MRS for not like the actual game roster. So you can have 1 head coach, 4 assistant coaches, 4 team trainers, 1 club contact, 1 team contact, and 1 secondary team contact. So quite a few people that you can include in there. And I'm pretty sure actually they are interchangeable in terms of like the total number. So here we say 4 assistant coaches, but really you could have like 8 between the team trainers and assistant coaches. So yeah, definitely a lot of flexibility there in terms of your MRS roster on that front. Any other questions? Any written in the chat, Calvin or Shunya? Not seeing any on my front here.
Jason had a question about MRS rosters, but I think it's best if he just emails you, because he was having the same issue with showing no players and things, correct?
Okay, yeah. So Mulaney is ultimately the one that would be your go-to if you do have any MRS issues. She's, yeah, our expert. She deals with the kind of like all the stuff that comes in first, and then if there are kind of like any unique or extreme examples, then usually Jen Harkness does get involved. So yeah, across the board, Mulaney would be your go-to on that front. And if you don't have her email, you can just find it under our staff directory on the OVA website.
Okay.
I just saw a question here come through.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just open it here. If your club has more than 1 team at an age group, can you roster players from 1 team onto the other in case of injuries or illness to be able to bring a player up? Yes, that is a great question, and we highly recommend that, especially after the roster lock. So I believe the roster lock is February 23rd at 11:59 p.m. And after that time frame, there's no more movement at all. So MRS rosters, like, they actually lock, so you will not be able to make any more changes. So there, it's highly recommended that you do include extra players. Let's say you have 10, 11, or 12 that you for sure know, okay, this is our Ontario Championship, this is our lineup, these are who are going to be attending, but you still have that one final Bogarski Cup event late February or into March. It's recommended that you add 3 or 4, basically max out that 15 number for any players that you might traditionally bring up, and they might be like your first call up from your team that's below you. And then at Ontario Championships, when you do show up in person for the coach check-in, that's the time where you can just scratch off any players that are not attending. So it's way easier to scratch off players at coach check-in than adding players. Adding players, there's an additional fee as well. I think it's $50 per ad. And it's also needs to go through an approval process because we don't necessarily just accept every request that comes in to add a player after the roster lock date, as sometimes, as you can imagine, that would cause a bit of controversy depending who's getting added and what teams, and it's on that front. So highly recommended, always max out that 15, especially after that roster lock date. And just, I'm not sure if you're wondering this as well, but I figured might as well touch on it. There's still unlimited roster movement, like lateral movement across teams. So I know a lot of clubs have 3, 4, upwards to like 6 teams in an age group. So let's say 15 you girls, you have 4 teams. You can still there's still unlimited lateral movement between those rosters. So you can be constantly updating, before every tournament, before the roster lock, of course, changing your rosters around, making adjustments, and no issues on that front. I think that was the last question on that front.
I was going to say, let's keep going through the presentation and we can come back to it at the end. Yeah, we already answered a few really good questions, and we'll be there at the end and also through email for some follow-ups if needed.
Yeah, so our next section is hot off the press. We learned about this from our communications team last week. It's the Good Vibes Great Volleyball campaign. As our sport of volleyball continues to grow, we're seeing increased misbehavior amongst the athletes, parents, spectators, etc. So we just want to have a friendly reminder to everyone that we are expecting spectators, coaches, referees, everyone involved to be a good role model for our athletes. And we want to exemplify the core values of character, community, inclusion, excellence, fun, and growth. We want our athletes to have a good atmosphere surrounding our games. So spectators, coaches, referees will all have a better experience. And then our core values are respect, encouragement, and sportsmanship. I'm sure there's going to be lots of branding at our EY Center events and our International Center events. So please be on the lookout for these. We encourage coaches to share and follow up with parents as well. Just make sure that we're all having a fun and inclusive environment at our OVA tournaments. Up next, we have our referee highlights. Martin Kerstens, our new Ontario Referees Chair, is going to talk about some of the initiatives that our Ontario referees are doing to help support the game of volleyball.
Thanks, Calvin, and good evening, everyone. The mentorship program that the referees are building on this year, you'll probably see them if you're new to the game. You'll see referees that could be standing down at the end lines or around your court and just keeping an eye on the referees and their performance. And they're there to help assist and to help train the referees, especially with the newer referees that are being taught this year as level 1s. So you would see them at lower age division tournaments. So last year we were targeting 50 tournaments that were attended by our mentorship group. And this year, because of the increase in the number of tournaments, we're shooting for 10%. So we're going to try to have 80 tournaments where we will have mentors that will be there to support our new level 1 referees and possibly the level 2s if required. We've streamlined the mentorship program so there is less training involved to get a larger number of mentors. We've also increased or expanded the capabilities for mentoring to level 2s. There are a number of level 2 referees that have got many years of experience, never wanted to go up a level to 3 or 4. They're very happy to stay at level 2, but they could have 10, 15 years experience. So now we've gone and tapped into that experience and provided an opportunity for them to become mentors, and they will be helping out mentoring with level 1 referees this year. With referee development, back at the end of September, a couple weeks ago, we had a referee symposium at Humber. We had Guy come in, who is on the FIVB Referees Commission, and he came in and spoke to over 60 referees on how to do smooth refereeing. So it was well attended. It was a great opportunity for new officials and seasoned officials. It was with the number of referees that were there, it was a good mix of level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 officials that attended. And it was very well received by all members that were in attendance. This year is the first year we've done a preseason referees meeting. And what we're trying to do is create more consistency with regards to the inconsistencies that have been happening over the last couple of years. So it was, again, it was a virtual meeting. It was very well attended and got tremendous feedback from the referees that were in attendance with regards to happy to hear that things are that we are trying to improve the consistency amongst referees throughout the province. The purple card policy, just a reminder that it is in play. And remember that coaches and clubs, it is your responsibility to manage your parents. We're pushing very hard to have respect amongst everyone involved with regards to the game of volleyball. So a collaborative effort is what we're trying to achieve with coaches and referees with regards to the parents in attendance and the behavior. Understand that there are, again, new referees coming online, level 1s, all through the season, and they could be doing one of your matches. So realize that they could be, their first tournament or second tournament or third tournament of the year. And please be patient with them. Just like your brand new players that you have on your team, you are patient with them. Please be the same with our newer referees, or just with all our referees. Everyone's trying to do their best. No one's trying to provide a poor performance for any matches. And that pretty much covers it for referee highlights.
Thanks, Martin.
So I'm just going to jump in here and talk about a new learning management system that Volleyball Canada has already launched for other provinces, but will be launching for Ontario shortly. So it's an education and development resource platform for coaches, referees, and athletes, and it will be used by everybody across the country. So for our Ontario members, it's going to be live November 3rd, and before then, all the coaches and members will receive a email from Sport Lomo on how to access the system, log in, and kind of instructions on how to do that. There will also be an email, which I'll put in the chat, that will be actively monitored if there are any like account challenges. But also there will be a reminder of this once the system launches as well, just so you don't have to remember that email. There may be some delays in kind of some modules being uploaded into this, but that will get dealt with Volleyball Canada. But for now, until November 3rd, we are still using the Volleyball Canada coaching center.
Thank you. LP, you're going to talk about this real quickly?
Absolutely. So the youth competition review has been going on for over a year. We had a session on it last Monday. Some of you might have attended or not, because there was a Jays game and really everybody had better things to do. But this process was really good. We worked with Sport for Life, which is an industry expert and leader in the world of youth competition and long-term development for athletes. And this all started because we are seeing the growth in the number of players, teams, clubs, and we wanted to be proactive about preparing for this growth, eventually challenging our capacity to deliver competitions and delivering the events that we know everybody loves. So we conducted this review with Sport for Life. They did surveys. They consulted with members, coaches, athletes, clubs, referees, name it. They really went out and spoke to over 1,800 people through surveys and meetings and town halls. And they recently gave us their final recommendations. And this was just over a month ago. And since then, we've been working on an implementation plan in order to implement the recommendations that they gave us. Now, there is a page on our website, which is the Youth Competition Review page. If you go in the competition section of the website, you will see a link there for the Youth Competition Review, and all of the information is on there with the report, the recommendations, and also the process that we're going to take, and also the updates that are going to be put on there as we get through the process, consult with our committees, clubs, coaches, and so on, and as we iron out the details of how the changes are going to go forward. So I don't want to get into the details here, but all I want to say is that there's some exciting changes coming for next year that are necessary for us to continue growing and being able to deliver our competitions to all of you. So so stay tuned and please participate. Please participate in the surveys and meetings that will be available to you. Keep an eye on the website, on social media for call outs for them. And I look forward to see you there so that we can talk about the future of volleyball in Ontario.
Thanks, LP. Last but not least, we have our AGM reminder. So our AGM will be held on December 14th. It's a Sunday morning, 9:30 to 12 p.m. The meeting will be held on Teams, and this year, as part of the agenda, we are going to have a call for treasurer and 2 director-at-larges. Applications, the application process will be open this week, and the deadline to apply is November 24th. So if you know anyone that might be of interest or anyone that might be good for those positions, please have them check out the website. And that wraps up the meeting for us. Thank you everyone for joining. Do we have any more questions before we sign off?
I'm just going through the chat here. There's one more that I missed, and the question was just on the recommended time to confirm your roster in MRS. And really the answer is as soon as you can. Just always keep in mind that even if the coach has completed their requirements and they're on their end good to go. It can still take up to 2 business days for OVA staff to officially approve them, then allowing you to add them to your roster. So that's cutting it very close kind of thing. If you do that Wednesday night, then you have Thursday, Friday as the 2 business days, and then you have the weekend competition. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Earlier the better, just to make sure your team is good to go.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions that are not answered in the chat or in the Q&A. So maybe a last call for questions. Maybe you can raise your hand if you'd like to ask it live. And if not, then we're good to go. This recording is going to be sent to all of you. Oh, we have Richard.
Yeah, just really quick, since
Yeah.
I'm seeing the switching side things mentioned here. On the coin toss server side, are we discouraging them to say switch side because parents would be flipping back and forth then? Kind of in the same philosophy that Mark was talking about? Or is that still fine?
Still totally fine on that front. Like, cause yeah, even though if the head ref deems a court not like a reasonable difference for side switch, there could in theory be like something that might make like a 1% difference where a team might just want to be on one side. So yeah, coin flip is totally up fair game for a team to choose side instead of serve. Yeah, so all good. All good there.
Well, thanks.
And actually, one more note, I forgot to mention this. Our youth competitions team has grown as well. So we are very excited to have Hayden Cavender join us on our team. So we have switched up the age groups a little bit. So if you're a team you're looking to reach out to any of us youth competition staff, just keep in mind that Hayden looks after the ECI age groups up until TLS girls. And then Claire now looks after TLS boys, 15U and 16U. And Jacob Barker looks after 17U and 18U. So if you have any questions in your age groups, just reach out to that specific youth competitions coordinator and they will be able to help you out.
We have LL that has a question as well.
Hi, good evening. You mentioned regarding the coaches attending the referee meeting. How does it work in terms of if the referee meeting is 45 minutes beforehand and venues don't open until 30 minutes beforehand? What does that do for timing?
Mark, can you speak to any of the facilities that open a little later?
Yeah, because you're definitely right. Venues across the board, we have different start times, different entry points. The dream scenario is you can get in an hour earlier, but there's definitely some venues that are the half an hour earlier. In that case, it's essentially when they can. So if it's a half an hour, I'm guessing that meeting would take place around like that 25 minutes prior, just allowing the refs to come in. They're definitely the majority of venues. It's more in that 45-minute to an hour time frame, but yeah, for the ones that are shorter, I'd aim for around that 25-minute time frame would be pretty safe.
Okay, so it's not like the refs are getting in at 45 minutes, but coaches and athletes and families are 8:30 or whatever the case.
That's correct. Everyone's the same.
Okay.
In that case, it would really just be the host. Sometimes they might get in a little earlier, starting to set up, but yeah, then everyone else enters at that same time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for your questions and for attending this meeting. And have a good rest of your evening. And again, please email us if you have any other questions. Encourage if you can share this information actually with the other coaches on your club or even with your club leaders. There might be things that they are not aware of, so you can be a leader within your club and sharing this information. And otherwise, you should be getting a link to the recording for this if you registered for it. And again, feel free to pass it on. And we will see you on the next call. And if not, on the courts. Thanks, everybody. Have a good season.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.